In everything we do in our life, let our spirit be fully awake to get our 5 to 25 vision, to where you're checking everything out, to where you're able to detect from what's right next to you to what's far away. Welcome back, everybody. Today I'm going to be explaining spiritual awareness and how to activate that, how to turn that on to where every spiritual thing in this world, good and bad, you can detect it. Because the Bible definitely does tell us to be aware of false prophets, which is not the subject of this video, but I'm just giving you a quick example before I begin to being aware of them. Yes, they're going to be wearing sackcloth. They're going to be looking exactly how you would think a Christian, a follower of Christ would look, but yet they aren't. They're just deceiving everybody else. They're giving us false information that seems to be correct. It seems right in our minds, but in our spirit it's not. So today I'm going to be explaining exactly how your mind, your spirit will all be connected, and you'll get the exact same answer every time, and you'll know for sure whether it was from God or whether it's not. So let's go ahead and do that. One thing is for sure is we need to not let our minds be our primary decision maker. Your spirit is the decision maker, and your mind pretty much just follows that. If you haven't heard me preach over body, soul, and spirit before, well, let me go ahead and break it down in simple terms that your soul pretty much is you making the decisions. That is you. That is you making your own decisions in your own life. The spirit is either the good or the bad. You can either be good or you can either be bad. And then your body, which is your flesh, and the mind, right, they're in the same category. Flesh and mind are in the same thing, because you ain't going to heaven with your brain. You ain't going to heaven with any consciousness. You're only going to heaven with these two, because they're the only two that matter, which is your soul and your spirit, which is your heart, right? So whatever your body, whatever your mind, whatever your body does is because of what your mind's doing. Whatever your body does is because your soul wants to do that. And because your soul wants to do that is because initially your spirit wanted to do that. So your spirit is the initial one that says, hey, let's do this. So if it's a bad decision, you know what it is. If it's a good decision, you know what spirit that is. So then you know if you're doing something good, you know that your soul is lining up with your spirit, and then your soul is lining up with your flesh, which is why it makes sense that whatever your body does shows what's on the inside. But that's why the Bible tells us about false prophets. The flesh, what their mind, what they're doing looks good. It messes with the human eyes. We're looking at them, we see, wow, okay, they're speaking really well. They're looking the part. But Christians don't look the part. They just, inside is the part. That is what truly matters. The physical attribute is merely just an action of what's on the inside. But anyway, your spirit detects everything, good and bad. But your mind only detects what your eyes see, which your eyes are only seeing what's in front of you and peripheral vision. Whether you are looking directly at something or on a completely 180, right? If you're looking at it in that sense, obtusing your vision, it doesn't matter. This physical life of 180 does absolutely nothing. But I mean that in metaphorical terms. An example is we need to be fully aware of what's going on around us. But I'm not meaning as in watch the news or look up on social media posts and see what's going on Twitter or whatever. You get your information, you get your awareness from God. That's all you need to care about, and that's all you need to pay attention to. Everything else will fall into place pretty easy. Let me tell you this good example that a friend at work once told me. It was a military thing called, it was like 5 to 25, which is when you look down in front of you, that's 5. You look a little bit more, that's 10, 15, 20, and 25. So it goes up, right? And that's that's all your vision in when he was in battle, when he was in the army, right? He looks, you cannot just check 5, but you have to check your 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. And you can't just check 5 to 20. You got to check 5 to 25 because you might miss something that's flying in on 25. Somebody on the top of the building that's on 25 that you may have not seen. But that's why you got to check all of it. That's why you got to get every single thing. You can't get, like I said in my last video, you can't see a full picture when you're so close to it. So you can't just see everything from looking at just a few things that you want to look at. You got to look at everything. So on the news, for example, the news only shows you some of what you need to see. Just gives you a general idea of the subject, and then you pick the side of which you want to pick, whatever. But there's always something that's missing in a story or something, and they just exaggerate or whatever because they're biased. They'll share a story about presidents or this without telling you the full thing because one party is the owner of that news or whatever, and you're missing a part of it that is very crucial to you. So you're only seeing maybe 5 to 10 or 20 of the entire news of what's actually happening in real life. So the devil can fool you in such a way like that where you're only seeing so much and you're only seeing the good parts of things, but then God is showing you all of it spiritually, that you can see every single thing and that you're aware, wow, the devil's really tricking people on the news or this or that or social media, and there's a lot of bad things going on. I'm going to read you this verse, and it's in Genesis, in the beginning of Genesis. And it says the eyes were opened, and both their eyes were open, and they knew they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves lion coverings, right? So their eyes opened when she took a bite of that fruit. So I want to read you these scriptures real quick. So this is the fall. This is chapter 3 on Genesis. You can read it with me if you want. Summary is there was that serpent, which is Satan, enticing Eve to take a bite of the fruit, right? And he's telling her, did God actually say you shall not eat the fruit, eat of any tree in the garden? And the woman said to the serpent, we may eat of the fruit of the trees in the garden, but God said you shall not eat the fruit of the tree that is in the midst of the garden, neither shall touch it, lest you die. And the serpent's just telling her, no, you surely will not die. God knows that when you eat it, your eyes will be opened and you'll be like God, knowing good and evil. And this is what I hear a lot of the world saying, is they'll say, I've heard people say, God does not want you to be powerful and know the knowledge like God of good and evil. He blocked it off like a strict parent not wanting you to discover new things because he's trying to keep you in a tight bubble. This is what I've heard people say, and that's exactly what Satan's trying to tell her right now. You're in a bubble right now, but he's not wanting you to know that. He's not wanting you to be like God to where you know good and evil. Now you can see it as a strict God that's saying, no, I don't want you to discover this. You can see it as this instead. If she never discovered by taking that fruit, you would have never discovered anything about depression. You wouldn't have discovered anything about ever having an argument with anybody, getting angry, getting sad, getting any other emotion but love and joy and peace. There's a reason why God was putting that somewhere else for you not to have it. Because if you were to have it, it's not going to be good. Anytime you ever hear when you're younger and your parents say, don't do that, and you're like, for what? And then you want to do it because you're curious, and then you do it, and then you learn your lesson because either you cut your leg or something happened to you when they strictly told you not to for a reason that you just didn't get your head around. So God is trying to protect you from evil, trying to get you away from that. Not that there was anything needing to be hidden away that you need to hear, but something that you really don't need it. If you're so pure, you're so good already, you're made in God's image, you have no need to know that knowledge, because it's not just knowledge that you get when knowing evil, but then you just become depressed, this and that, because it's just unleashed from that moment on. Eyes were open. That's what he was telling Eve. Your eyes will be opened like God to know good and evil. But not only were her eyes opened, but her heart, her soul, everything was now open for grabs, and it's now her decision on what to do, to continue living like Christ or not to. Because from that moment on, that's why they have this scripture below that, is it says that the eyes were open and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves lion coverings. Because then evil was now unleashed to them. Everything was now open for grabs, which is why Satan roams the world today, was from that moment on, from disobedience from there. And it's not the matter of opened eyes, opened anything. We need to be, the reason why I read that is to be spiritually aware of what the devil is doing, because the devil will say things to you or do things, go to different people you'll have in your life, and it'll sound so good, but yet your spirit will detect that it's not good at all. So you need to detect that from your spirit's saying, no, that's not a good thing to do. That's not a good thing, whatever. And you need to make sure that your spirit is able to detect those things. And it's kind of it's interesting how when I talk about how to pray, how to read the Bible, or how to do this, it's always going to be the same answer. The gospel is in one single message, but you can expand it from faith to this, to this, to this, to this, prayer, whatever. It all dials down to love and being that love by finding his love, that he died for you and you wanted to change your life because of that moment, that he deserves it, that he died to give you life. What we need to understand is God wants us to live a life without any type of depression, anger, anything other than joy, love, peace, and just happiness. And that's exactly what he wants, how he wants us to live. And I'm sure you want to live the exact same. And how do you do that? How do you get that? It's just by having communion with him, by spending time with him, by reading his word. This is life. Now, you cannot read life without getting life from it. Now, I've seen people, atheists, read this Bible and get nothing out of it. If you read it like a book, it's nothing but a book to you. It's nothing but a story. And that's why atheists can quote scriptures in here and not get anything, not whatever. It's a spiritual book. It's not a fleshly book that you can just get at a library and you just read it like anything else. You read from from the Spirit, and you'll get things in here that are metaphorical or whatever it is, and you'll get the true message, which is why a lot of Christians and preachers take things out of context and mess it up and scramble things, because it's a spiritual book. If you'll get it wrong, your mind will come up with an answer that you believe is correct, but spiritually it's wrong, but your spirit knows the right answer if you live spiritually, which is why he says live in the Spirit, and then everything's going to be made clear, possible, boom, you're good. Having spiritual awareness comes from pretty much just being with him, by just understanding who he is. And the more you are with him, the more the knowledge of God, the more the knowledge of the Spirit, and in both parties, evil and good, you're able to detect those things. So you're not trying to detect good and evil in the world, or friends, or anything. It'll be just second nature, like breathing. You're just living a life the way you should have been, which is why he says live in the Spirit. Now, the Bible is for the simple. It's not for the lazy. I've said this many times. The Bible is for the simple. It's very basic. It's just love. It's so simple, right? But it's not for the lazy that just don't want to do anything, right? And so this is when you put things into practice. You put things into action, wanting to read those things, wanting to pray, wanting to have a relationship with. I said in my last video, he can give you the desire to read, to pray, to spend time with him. He can give you those desires in your heart, but it's the decision that you make yourself as an individual to do those things and present those. In everything we do in our life, let our spirit be fully awake to get our 5 to 25 vision, to where you're checking everything out, to where you're able to detect from what's right next to you to what's far away. Right? We can see it in distance too. We can see it is not just focusing right on 5 and 20, but you're focused on 5 to 25. You don't want to miss anything. You're getting every single thing, and you're also getting your 6, which is behind you. 6 is you're able to get your behind plus everything. Your spirit is literally like a 360 surround sound. You'll get everything, and that all just comes down to being with him. It's so basic, but it's so I say that all the time. I mean, if you want to learn how to pray, spend time with him. You want to learn how to read the Bible in the Spirit, spend time with him. And that's pretty much it. The people who have a lot of struggles in trying to do something is because they're not trying. They don't have. They're not putting it in to want to do those. If you're wanting to read, you'll continually want to talk to him and spend time with him and continue reading. And you'll see that it comes naturally. But if you're continually thinking, oh, I have a problem, I just can't do it, and then you never open it because you think you just can't, you'll never will, right? You put it in action yourself. You tell yourself, you're going to get this, and you pray about it. I want to read this Bible, and he wants to help you. He's not going to hear your prayer of, I want to read this, but I want to know more about you. I want to get what's in here. He'll help you out with that, because your understandings on this Bible will be his understandings when you're living the Spirit, because then your mind becomes exactly like his because it's inside of you. Your mind follows what your soul is and your spirit. So then your mind's going to follow exactly what his was. I hope this video made sense. I kind of talked a lot because I really wanted to make sure that you understood as much as you can get in a short amount of time, because I know you have busy lives. But thank you all so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, please subscribe and like this video. And of course, I'm going to start making some more YouTube shorts on here, because I think people do enjoy watching a lot of preaching content in about 60 seconds, something that you can get before work or when you're in the bathroom or whatever, anytime that you really can. I want to make sure that those are accessible to you on social media as well, if you don't follow me on there, for videos that are also 60 seconds to most 3 minutes at most, right? I'm trying to make it as accessible as possible, as easy. And of course, you're able to check out Messenger Music, which is also down below in the description, where it's pretty much just worship music, instrumentals, things like that, to encourage you on your relationship with God. And I really want to help you all in every aspect that I can. But of course, these are decisions. These are things that you have to do yourself. I'm here to just encourage you and to help you learn about God so that you get a good understanding with a relationship with God and how your life is going to be a lot better when you do so. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Messenger out.